Hello, how are you? I want to talk today about something that is super cool and transformational, and that is identity journaling. I've talked a bit about gratitude journaling, synchronicity journaling, and one of the other things that I did recently, just on my own, I don't know that I read this or found this anywhere in particular, but I did start an identity journal. So, what this consisted of was just me writing down who I am. And some of that is completely true right now, and some of it isn't true right now. So one of the things is like, I'm a gym girly. I'm just a girl who goes to the gym. That's been true for me in different stages of my life, but certainly for the last year and a half or so, where I decided I was a gym girly. I'm a gym rat. That's just one of the things I am. Like, you don't think about when you get up in the morning, like, am I going to the gym? Or, oh, I've got to go to the gym. I don't ever say I've got to go to the gym or make it a chore. I always look at the gym as a reward. The gym is my me time. That's my special time. And so I don't use those words when talking about the gym or working out or keeping my body healthy. Those are beautiful things I get to do for myself. And I think the wording around that is important. But in addition to the wording about, the positive reinforcement of I get to do that. This is my me time. I also identify myself as a person who goes to the gym. And because I know that's part of my identity, I don't obsess or fret about the times that I can't make it to the gym because I know that I'll be back the next day. I know that that's just my identity. That's just who I am. I'm a non-smoker. I've never smoked cigarettes in my life. I have no desire to. My mother did me a beautiful solid as a child by becoming a smoker, and I hated it. And I hated it with such vengeance. And it was so despicable a habit to me that I never picked it up. A lot of times we do the opposite of what our parents do. And so for me, that served me, right? Her cigarette habit made me very adamant that I would never be a smoker. I don't have to resist smoking. There's not one cell in my body that desires to pick up a cigarette and start smoking. It's just this abhorrent habit. I want nothing to do with it. And so it's very easy for me not to get addicted or start something that doesn't identify with who I am as a person. So what else can I say I identify as, right? So I identify as someone who is extremely loyal, and my word is gold. If I tell you I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to a party, I'm going to meet you for lunch, I will be there. Come hell or high water, I will be there. Like, my word is solid. It's always been something that's very important to me. I hate flakiness. Now, that said, I have been known to be late, so that's something I need to work on. But showing up and being present when I say I'm going to be present, that's part of my identity. That's something that is entrenched within me. And as I journaled about my identity, I found some things weren't serving me at all. So, for instance, this is a big one because I've really been working on abundance mindset for having more money in my life, more prosperity, and more ease with paying my bills and having, just more availability of funds. And so I've done a lot of journaling around this, and I can recommend a couple books, which Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass at Making Money. I have read that book, whether I have it on audiobook, and I have listened to it over and over and over again. And I feel like I'm really in a place right now that certain things are resonating with me better. And the other thing is doing the work of the journaling that's in the book. I think I last journaled the stuff in the book in 2019, and it was time to journal it again because I'm in a whole different place right now. So journaling within that book, also Amanda Frances, Rich as Fuck, ton of journaling in that book, an exhaustive amount of journaling. So going through and actually answering all the questions and journaling all the thoughts and feelings about money and the scarcity of money or the abundance of money, a lot of mindset shifts for me in that. So when it comes to identity for money, one of the things that came up for me was I had this identity of someone who was scrappy and works really hard and grinds and hustle. We got this hustle culture. Like, man, if you're just like living on 4 hours sleep and you're just working 12-hour days and you're just, you're in the grind, you're a producer, right? That those things were something I identified as part of my identity. Like I can find the best deal. I can find a bargain. I can hunt things down and make things out of, DIY, very little. I do thrift store shopping. I can buy things, on Temu and Amazon and these, and I know how to find sales. And this was like not just something I did as a habit, but something that was part of my identity. And I had to ask myself, is that serving me? That scrappy, grinding hustler, is that serving me? Is that who I want to be next year and the year after? Or do I want to live in comfort and ease and abundance? And so I started rewriting in my journal who I identify as. I identify as someone who has plenty of money. I identify as someone who money comes to easily. It just flows through me. I just attract it. I can't help it. I'm just one of those girls that if you see her, you're like, yeah, well, she's one of those lucky ones. Yeah, I'm just one of those lucky ones. I identify as a lucky one, right? So in doing this, I started to have different realizations about where I was and what I was letting limit me. And I was actively reinventing myself every day as someone who was scrappy, hardworking, grinding, and hustling. And that wasn't serving me anymore. And so I would ask you, is there something in your identity that you're choosing, that you're saying to yourself, this is who I am, that isn't serving you? You know, one of the journaling prompts was if you had, what is it you want? Okay, you want all these things. I want, $1 million in the bank and I want a house in the hills and I want, a brand new car and, all this. Okay, so let's say you had all those things. How would your life be different? Who would you be if you had those things? If you had that bank account balance? If you had that car that was this kind of, convertible, whatever. If you had the house fully paid off, no mortgage, with the view, with the pool, how would you be different? So I was thinking, well, I would be calm and I would be less anxious and less stressed because I wouldn't be worried about money. And then something occurred to me. What if you behaved that way now? What if you identify as someone who has this house, has this car, has this bank account, and you behave that way now? What's stopping you? Really, really, what is stopping you from behaving that way right now? If you know that you're not going to be stressed about money in your mind, right? In your mind, you're not going to be stressed about money because you have this bank account with all these zeros on it. Well, what about deciding right now that you're not going to be stressed about money? What about appreciating the fact that you do have money, you do have credit? You're not living in some third world country somewhere with, on a dirt road, barefoot, carrying your water from a river somewhere a mile away. No, you have options, honey. You have options. And the gratitude journaling has certainly helped, like realizing how much I have. We look and lack and we see lack, and we have to focus on abundance and not lack. Focusing on the scarcity doesn't help, right? Napoleon Hill says if you're looking for the gold and you're shifting the sands in the gold panning, you don't look for the sand, you look for the gold. And I thought that was a great quote, right? It's very easy to see the sand. It's very easy to see the scarcity. You have to look for the gold. You have to look for the abundance. And how would you feel if you already had the abundance? And I realized that at times in my life when I've had more money, I was still stressed about money. And at times in my life when I had a lot less money, I was stressed about money. And that being stressed about money is actually habit and unfortunately an identity. And I am choosing to let that go and believe that it's going to be okay. I'm going to have a roof over my head. I'm going to have a car to drive. I'm going to have credit, and it's going to work out. So why get nervous and stressed and anxious about it? Because the person that has the things that I want and lives that way is not stressed about that. So what's stopping me right now from not being stressed about those things? It was a mind-blowing realization when I thought to myself, you know what? I can step into that identity right now. and decide not to be stressed about those things. And you know what the practice is for that? Is that every time one of those thoughts comes into my head, which is a million times a day, or a half a million times a day, or 600,000 times a day. I mean, it's a lot. The little thoughts come in and start to go, ooh, how are you going to pay that bill? Ooh, da, 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 da. As soon as I notice it, I go, oh, there's one of those thoughts. You know what? It's going to be okay. The universe is going to take care of this. It's going to work out. And I dismiss it as quickly as I can. And I refocus my energy on something positive and something I want to be thinking about. So I think this has really shifted who I am, my identity. And part of it is journaling about my identity. And part of it is just having the discipline with my thoughts on a minute by minute basis to when they come in and when those stressors start to engage, to let them go, to notice them and go, no, we're not going to ruminate on this. We're not going to go, 20 minutes thinking about how this is all falling apart and what's the worst case scenario. No, we're not going to let your mind focus on those things. That is not actually helpful. What's helpful is focusing on gratitude, focusing on present time, focusing on what is working, what's okay, what's available right now, and you're okay. You're okay. Calm down. Let me know if you're doing any sort of identity journaling. This is helpful to you. Does this resonate with you? Does it make sense? I'd love to hear your comments. Thanks for watching.